Nestled in an eastern suburb of Christchurch, New Zealand, an unassuming residence conceals a chilling and sinister truth. The heinous act that transpired within its walls is so grotesque and unfathomable that even seasoned investigators and psychologists grapple to comprehend the motives behind it. This narrative unveils the harrowing events that unfolded inside that very house. On the morning of September 26, 2008, a crisp Thursday dawns, and the Bower Tavern in Christchurch buzzes with lively conversation. The sound of clinking glasses and distant laughter permeates the atmosphere. A striking 28-year-old woman, Tisha Lowry, gracefully exits the tavern, returning home after a cherished visit with her grandfather. Their bond is profound, and she eagerly anticipates his birthday celebration the following day. Recently, she had moved in with him, seeking solace from her tumultuous relationship with her 48-year-old boyfriend, hoping to reflect on their challenges. Unbeknownst to her, this would be the final moment she shares with him or anyone else. The next day, Tisha fails to appear for her grandfather's birthday festivities, raising concern in her mother, Tanya, who finds her daughter's absence deeply unsettling. Initially, she assumes Tisha is simply spending time with her boyfriend and decides to allow her some space. However, upon reaching out to Tisha's boyfriend the following day, Tanya is alarmed to discover that he has not seen or heard from Tisha in several days. A wave of panic washes over the family, compelling them to report Tisha as missing to the authorities. On October 2, 2008, a week after Tisha's enigmatic disappearance, Detective Senior Sergeant Virginia Labas makes a heartfelt public appeal for information. The investigation escalates, with police meticulously searching Tisha's grandfather's home and all her familiar haunts. By October 7th, the search extends to the tranquil Avon River, a picturesque route Tisha might have taken home from the tavern. As law enforcement combs the riverbank and waters, the family distributes an astonishing 12,200 flyers, desperately seeking any clue or witness. Tisha's sister, Lean, poignantly articulates the family's emotional distress. In a perplexing turn of events, the case continues to elude resolution, despite the dedicated efforts of 35 officers and exhaustive searches. As time stretches from days into weeks and then months, the hope of discovering Tisha alive diminishes. On June 11, 2009, a reward of $20,000 is announced for any information that could lead to Tisha's location. Detective Labas's heartfelt appeal resonates during a press conference. A year later, an eerie enigma emerges just 2 houses away from Tisha's last known residence. Jason Somerville, a local resident, approached the police station to report his wife missing. He informed the authorities that she had struggled with depression, addiction, and self-harm, suggesting the possibility of suicide. He noted that she had left without her keys, handbag, cell phone, or bank cards. A few days later, he returned to inform the police that someone had placed his wife's prescription glasses and wedding ring in their mailbox. Intrigued, detectives met with Jason, unaware of the shocking revelations that awaited them. For reasons that remain unclear, Jason confessed to the murder of his wife, Rebecca, and astonishingly, he also admitted to killing Tisha the previous year. The motive behind his confession is shrouded in mystery. Perhaps he sought the $20,000 reward for Tisha's whereabouts, or perhaps the weight of his guilt became unbearable. On September 25, 2008, Jason recounted that while chopping wood outside his home, he went inside for a drink and heard a knock at the door. It was Tisha Lowry, his neighbor from 2 doors down, dressed in a Chicago Bulls jacket and jeans. He allowed her entry, claiming she roamed the lower floor, searching for something. Before ascending the stairs, she engaged with the computer and examined a filing cabinet. I asked her to leave, Jason recounted, expressing his irritation as she stubbornly refused to comply with his request. At this juncture, he acknowledges that he became extremely enraged and pushed her down the stairs. She managed to maintain her balance. But he then placed his hands around her neck. I seized her and held on tightly. At one point, I had her pinned against the wall. She was resisting me. I kept my grip until she ceased her struggle. I realized she was in serious trouble due to the duration of my hold, he confessed. He admitted to strangling Tisha to death with his own hands. The violence was so intense that he noted a significant amount of blood emerging from her face. Afterward, he left her body and went to retrieve a pair of his wife's underwear. Upon his return, he forced it down her throat. What transpired next is profoundly disturbing. He removed her jeans and underwear and engaged in sexual acts with her lifeless form. Later that afternoon, Jason left for his Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. When he returned an hour later, he remembered that his wife would be back at 3 p.m. He then opened a hatch in the basement, revealing an area beneath the house's foundation filled with dirt and soft ground. He dragged Tisha's half-naked body and placed it in the now exposed hole. He descended, dug a shallow grave using his hands and a floorboard, covered Tisha's body with dirt, and then pulled himself back up, replacing the hatch. Jason then tidied the area as best as he could. When his wife, Rebecca, returned, they continued their day as if nothing had happened, performing household chores and going to bed as if it were an ordinary day. His wife remained completely oblivious to the corpse lying just a few feet beneath their bedroom. The following morning, Rebecca left for a meeting. Jason took this chance to descend into the opening, uncover Tisha's body, and violate her corpse once more. Tisha's body, now beginning to decompose, exhibited signs of rigor mortis, yet Jason was unfazed. He had fully embraced necrophilia, and the author was deeply disturbed upon learning this fact. This video seeks to unveil the disturbing psyche of Jason Somerville. He informed the authorities that his motive for assaulting Tisha stemmed from the fury he experienced when she refused to vacate his home, despite his explicit orders. In the ensuing months, Jason and Rebecca Chamberlain continued their lives as if nothing had transpired. During this period, it was reported that Jason would casually mention Tisha's disappearance to neighbors, uttering chilling remarks such as, "What if they've got her locked in a dungeon and they're having sex with her?" A disturbing glimpse into his warped imagination. The extent of his violations against Tisha remains ambiguous, as he only confessed to 2 instances. Remarkably, Rebecca appeared oblivious to any malevolence lurking within their abode, and there was no discernible scent of decay, despite Tisha's body being present for months. This was likely due to the overwhelming stench of neglect and filth that enveloped the house, effectively concealing the horrific odor of decomposition. Tragically, Rebecca would never uncover the truth, as Jason also admitted to her murder. The tumultuous relationship between Rebecca and Jason Somerville began in the early 2000s, with Rebecca bringing a young son from a previous relationship. They wed in 2003 at Tuppo Baptist Church and welcomed 2 daughters in the following years. Financial hardships plagued them. Jason toiled as a supermarket stocker while Rebecca cleaned in a fast food establishment. By 2005, they were compelled to sell their home and move into a smaller flat to alleviate their financial strain. The new owner of their former residence described Jason as a jittery, anxious individual, and the property itself was in a deplorable state, with signs of violence evident in the battered walls and doors, and even feces on the carpet. It was hardly a place one could call home. In 2010, a report emerged detailing a neighbor's account of overhearing Jason speak to his family in a brutally vile manner. He referred to himself as a wretched mongrel, and I once overheard him unleashing a torrent of abuse upon his children. I would never deign to speak to my dogs in such a manner, and I warned him that should I witness such behavior again, I would sever ties with him immediately. His treatment of his wife and children was alarming. She appeared utterly terrified of him, as if he held her in a vice-like grip. He was all bluster, yet devoid of true courage. In late 2005, the custody of Jason and Rebecca's children was transferred to the Tuppo Baptist Church community. The precise reasons remain shrouded in ambiguity, though whispers of physical abuse towards the eldest child have surfaced, including unsettling rumors that Jason may have suspended the child from a shower rail. One truth stands out: their home was far from a nurturing environment, compounded by both parents' struggles with substance abuse. By 2007, Jason and Rebecca relocated to Christchurch, settling into what would later be infamously dubbed the House of Horrors. Jason worked as a laborer on his father's farm while dabbling in carpentry and undertaking renovations at their residence. Yet, despite these apparent improvements, authorities deemed them unfit to regain custody of their children. This news plunged Rebecca deeper into her addiction to substances and painkillers, leading her to self-harm and necessitating multiple visits to emergency psychiatric care. Ultimately, she sought help, achieved sobriety, and ceased her self-destructive behaviors. Collaborating with their family lawyer, they made renewed efforts to reclaim custody. Peter Burns, their attorney, commended Rebecca's progress, though he found Jason to be an anxious and peculiar individual. He noted they submitted at least 10 custody applications, all penned by her. They were exceptional, one might assume a lawyer had crafted them. She was remarkably intelligent, had turned her life around, and yearned to be a mother. Despite their relentless endeavors, the couple remained unable to regain custody of their children. Nearly a year had passed since Tisha's tragic departure, and it was a typical Sunday morning. Jason Somerville and his wife, Rebecca Chamberlain, who had been married for 6 years, lay peacefully asleep in their upstairs sanctuary. Jason was the first to awaken and sought intimacy with Rebecca, but she declined his advances. Undeterred, he made several attempts, each met with the same refusal. Frustration mounting, he eventually exited the bedroom to prepare himself a cup of coffee. Upon returning, he once again sought to engage with his wife, only to be met with her steadfast disinterest. This rejection ignited a deep sense of anger within him. I grabbed her by the throat and held on to her. I locked her in a headlock. I snapped, he recounted. Despite Rebecca's struggles, Jason only tightened his grip. When she finally gave up, I let go. I honestly thought she was going to be fine when I let go of her, he reflected. Leaving his wife unconscious, he went to the bathroom. Upon his return, he was taken aback to find Rebecca still motionless. Checking for a pulse, he found none. Instead of attempting to revive her, he chose a darker path, applying pressure to her neck with his hands, ensuring she would never awaken. He had extinguished all hope of her revival. He had taken the life of his own wife, ensuring her eternal silence. It's the first time I've actually had someone die after I've let them go after doing that. I don't understand why the hell she died. I mean, when you let someone go, they're supposed to live. Man. And then I initially tried to cover my tracks, Jason confessed. His words revealed a chilling self-absorption, as he seemed indifferent to the fate of his wife, having ensured her demise in a brutal response to her refusals. In a chilling echo of his past, he forced her undergarments down her throat and engaged in a grotesque act with her lifeless form, reminiscent of the heinous act he had committed against Tisha less than a year prior. Once he had satisfied his depraved urges, he tenderly kissed her forehead and uttered a farewell, yet panic gripped him. He hastily removed her from the bed and dragged her downstairs, consumed by the fear of the consequences that awaited him, a madness that enveloped his mind. Like Tisha, he excavated a shallow grave beneath his residence, interring Rebecca's remains alongside those of Tisha. The police later reported that Jason Somerville displayed fleeting moments of remorse, expressing confusion over his own actions during the interrogation. He lamented, "I cannot comprehend it. I have taken 2 lives that I knew I should not have. It defies everything I was taught." On the night of September 7th, 2009, following his confession, the New Zealand police descended upon the property to unearth the bodies of Tisha Lowry and Rebecca Chamberlain, having notified their families. Tisha, of Maori descent, was honored by her family and community through the haka, a traditional dance meant to pay tribute to her spirit. Jason was the architect of this tragedy, but who exactly was Jason Somerville? Let us delve into his history and seek to understand the influences that may have driven him into the depths of such unfathomable acts. Born on January 20th, 1976, in Christchurch, Jason Paul Somerville was the eldest of 4 children to Green and Rosemary Somerville. Although his family initially enjoyed stability, the divorce of his parents in 1989, when Jason was merely 13, prompted a relocation with his mother and siblings to Taupo in search of a new beginning. Yet, financial hardships loomed, despite Rosemary's active participation in the Mormon Church. In Taupo, Jason struggled academically, grappling with illiteracy and facing ridicule from his peers, compounded by his mother's mental health issues. His responses to bullying occasionally escalated to violence, and he was often labeled an outcast, a solitary figure tormented by his schoolmates. At times, he would respond with ferocity, targeting the very essence of those who dared to confront him. As a mere 14-year-old, he embarked on a troubling path, pilfering women's intimate garments from their laundry lines. Under the cover of night, he would stealthily navigate the shadows, peering through windows. In the confines of his caravan, he indulged in solitary pleasures, observing women disrobing through the lens of his binoculars. Upon leaving school in the early 1990s, Jason found himself relying on a patchwork of odd jobs and government assistance. Despite the adversities he faced, he successfully acquired property, where he resided throughout the decade. His actions did not go unnoticed. A local officer issued him warnings, and although he engaged in burglaries, he eluded any legal repercussions. Prescribed to grapple, an anticonvulsant for epilepsy, he claimed it also tempered his emotional fluctuations. Once again, he was cautioned to cease his stalking behavior, yet he faced no charges. Remarkably, Somerville maintained a clean criminal record, with only a minor driving infraction to his name, largely evading the scrutiny of both society and law enforcement. Any underlying developmental issues he may have possessed were permitted to fester, ultimately culminating in the atrocious acts committed against Tisha and his own spouse. The formal sentencing for these despicable offenses occurred on January 29, 2010. As Justice Lester Chisholm entered the courtroom, an air of solemn anticipation enveloped the audience. Jason Somerville stood before him, his expression betraying no trace of emotion. The atmosphere was charged with tension as Justice Chisholm commenced his remarks, meticulously detailing the abhorrent crimes perpetrated by Somerville. With a grave tone, Justice Chisholm began, "You stated that your anger towards Tisha stemmed from her unwillingness to leave, and your frustration with Rebecca arose from her refusal to engage in intimacy." Despite Somerville's professed remorse, Justice Chisholm remained resolute in his skepticism. The probation officer remarked, "You've shown no signs of remorse or empathy for your victims." He continued, "The murders you committed have caused an irreplaceable loss for the Lowry and Chamberlain families." Justice Chisholm then pronounced the sentence, stating, "In summary, you are sentenced to life imprisonment." With a minimum of 23 years to be served, while it was acknowledged that Jason faced significant challenges in his early life, including brain trauma, a head injury, and experiences of sexual abuse during his adolescence. Evaluations by both a psychiatrist and psychologist indicated that these factors did not lead to any identifiable mental disorder. Throughout the proceedings, Jason Somerville exhibited a complete lack of remorse or empathy for those he harmed. The sexual nature and impulsive characteristics of his offenses were viewed as serious indicators of potential future risks, with a considerable likelihood of further sexual or violent acts. Taking everything into account, the judge granted a 3-year reduction in his sentence due to his guilty plea. It was observed that Somerville remained stoic during the entire sentencing process. His fate was determined. The punishment served as a testament to the severity of his actions. Following Somerville's sentencing, the courtroom was filled with the profound sorrow of the victims' families. Tisha Lowry's relatives stepped forward, their voices quaking with grief and anger as they confronted Somerville directly. "You do not deserve to be on this earth," declared Jacob, Tisha's younger brother, his words filled with righteous anger. Their mother, Tanya, expressed her deep hatred for Somerville, her pain evident. "I hate him," she exclaimed, her voice thick with tears. "I wouldn't wish the feelings this has caused me on my worst enemy." Similar emotions were voiced by Rebecca Chamberlain's family, their anguish visible on their faces. A poem written by Rebecca herself served as a poignant reminder of the vibrant life that was tragically cut short by Somerville's actions. "I am not a mistake." Her voice resonated within the hallowed walls of the courtroom, a powerful declaration of her unwavering spirit. With tears glistening in their eyes, Rebecca's parents conveyed their profound sorrow to the court, their voices quivering with grief. "I deeply miss Rebecca. My life feels adrift without her." Her father's poignant words lingered in the atmosphere, a heart-wrenching reminder of the irreplaceable absence left by her tragic demise. The notorious House of Horrors was acquired by the Christchurch City Council, demolished, and transformed into a serene park. This space now stands as part of the White Ribbon New Zealand Foundation, dedicated to equipping men with the tools to act responsibly as adults and caregivers, aiming to guide young men in preventing such tragedies. The tragic narratives of Tisha Lowry and Rebecca Chamberlain serve as a stark reminder of the insidious nature of domestic violence. Despite the evident warning signs and desperate pleas for assistance, society overlooked the peril posed by Jason Somerville until it was far too late. The inadequate police investigation and systemic failures highlight the pressing need for reform and heightened awareness in recognizing and aiding victims of abuse.